Hello humans and welcome back to another React video. Today I will be looking at Victor Glover, who is the mission pilot for the Artemis 2. I've kind of been going through Artemis 2's things and also been trying to add in other things that are not Artemis 2 related. There's a million different Artemis 2 videos coming out every single day now. It's incredible the technology have. I think there's a live stream you can watch of the astronauts in Artemis 2. They've been doing interviews. They've been doing, Q&As. NASA has been putting out daily highlight videos. They've been putting out photos. There's just a bajillion things happening with Artemis 2 right now because as I'm recording this, they are still up in space. And there's just such a massive amount of content around this launch. I'd be curious if it was like this for Artemis 1, although I know Artemis 1 was unmanned, so I doubt it was quite the hype that this is getting. But anyways, I'm trying to react to all of that, take in all of that. I'm only putting up one video a day, but I am putting up video every single day, so I'm trying to spread out the Artemis content just a little bit, just because there's plenty of other space stuff happening. But today we're going to be looking at Victor Glover, who is on the Artemis 2. And tomorrow I might do something Artemis 2 related. And then the next day I'll probably... NASA's been putting out these highlights, these like daily recap highlights. So I might look at one of those tomorrow from the Artemis 2. And then after that, I'll do a non-Artemis something, and I'll probably just get onto a rotation for a few days or a couple weeks even, probably, of Artemis 2 stuff and then no Artemis 2 stuff, and then Artemis 2 stuff and then no Artemis 2 stuff. Just to kind of continue my space education, if you will. But anyways, without further ado, let us get into this video.
Sitting in the pilot's seat in the Orion spacecraft for the Artemis 2 mission is NASA astronaut Victor Glover. Born in Sonoma, California, Glover entered public service through the U.S. Navy.
Okay.
He completed a space system certificate at the Naval Postgraduate School on his way to being
Space System Certificate. I don't know what that is. I'll have to look that up and figure out what that is.
designated as a test pilot in 2007. He currently holds the rank of captain in the U.S. Navy. In a virtual address to other sailors in 2021, Glover...
Sorry, I'm going to probably be pausing a lot. Okay, so he holds captain in the U.S. Navy. I understand that astronauts are not military because NASA is non-military. It is government, but it's not military. Even so, are there ranks inside of, like, I know there's mission commander, right? I think that's Reed Wiseman. He's mission commander. This is mission pilot, and then there's like specialists. Are those considered ranks, or is that just job descriptions?
described his journey to becoming an engineer.
I graduated from Ontario High School, and all along the way, I always had a very supportive family, and I was very fortunate to have teachers like Mr. Hargrove, who was my 5th grade science teacher at Allison Elementary School, who told...
Thoroughly appreciate a by name teacher shout out. Teachers are so underappreciated. I know I owe a lot to my teachers for the places I've gone and the things I've gotten to do. And I never have gotten a chance, like a public platform like this, to thank those teachers. But I appreciate that for sure. My mother's a teacher.
Told me that if I studied hard and focused, that I could make a great engineer one day. And back then in 5th grade, I did not know what an engineer was. I actually thought that meant you drove trains. But his belief in me to this day is one of the reasons that I had gone on and pursued a career in science and technology.
Glover began his space career when he was selected as part of NASA's 21st astronaut class in 2013, nicknamed the...
I didn't know they did astronaut classes by year. I'm really not very familiar with how the astronaut program works at all. I have no idea how selection works. I have no idea how you get into it. I assume you have to be an engineer or former Navy, or not even Navy, former military, or both, or electrician or scientist. Like, you have to be very specialized in what you do. Is that a picture? What's that picture on the back right? Is that a picture of Apollo? It looks like a Saturn V because it's just white and black. Was it white and black before they decided to go orange? Now I'm going to have to look this up. I have no idea. Anyways, let's continue. I'm going to back it up just so I don't miss what they're saying.
Of NASA's 21st astronaut class in 2013, nicknamed the Eight Balls. Coincidentally, he was training alongside his fellow future Artemis II crewmate, Christina Cook. After finishing astronaut candidate training in 2015,
introducing NASA astronaut Victor Glover.
Glover was tapped in 2018 to fly as the pilot of the Crew 1 mission, the first post-certification flight of a SpaceX Dragon spacecraft. He made history as...
I don't know anything also about the SpaceX Dragon. I haven't learned about those things yet. If you're new to the channel, I started this channel with the express purpose to learn about space. And going into starting this channel, I knew almost nothing about space. I have learned an immense amount since then, but there's still a lot of topics that are just completely like foreign to me. I have no idea about, and SpaceX is one of those blind spots that I currently have.
As the first African-American astronaut to serve on a long-duration space mission.
The fact that this is the first means it's the beginning of a time where little kids are going to just know that people of all colors have gone to the space station and contributed. And so the fact that this is the beginning of that just becoming normal, that is the most important aspect.
Amen.
During his 168 days in space, Glover...
What are those, oh, sorry.
Is the most important
Skipping
aspect.
around here.
During his...
What are those different symbols on his jacket there? Jacket, jumpsuit, spacesuit? I don't know the terminology. Do those signify something specific, or is that just like a design choice for that? You know what? Space fashion, I would expect space fashion will kick off at some point. Not just like people on Earth wearing space-like things, but also people in space wearing space-like things that have been custom designed for space. And I know they have jumpsuits and pressure suits and compression suits and all sorts of things like that. But I mean like designer. I can imagine that in a very short amount of time, I can imagine Earth companies will want to design designer spacesuits or designer jumpsuits or whatever. I can imagine that being a thing.
His 168 days in space, Glover completed 4 spacewalks in addition to the rest of his work. After returning to Earth, Glover spent some time as the Human Landing System crew representative for the astronaut office.
Your Artemis II pilot, Victor Glover.
He was then named the pilot of the Artemis II mission in 2023. While
That's
he says
really
he
cool.
was thrilled to be part of this historic mission, he added during a visit to the Kennedy Space Center in December 2024 that their primary job is working towards the future of the Artemis program.
I wonder, that announcement, I haven't been able to find the video. If anyone has it or can find it or knows what it is, please link it down below. This video I'm watching, by the way, will be linked in the description. But I've been wanting to watch that like candidate announcement video, and I haven't been able to find it. But anyways, do they know who's going to go before the announcement? Or is the public learning at the same time that a pool of astronauts is also learning who's going on a specific mission? I'm curious about that process.
We have known that we are a finite right now part of a long thing that we can't wait to hand off to the next, right? We've been using that relay race analogy from the very beginning, and we truly feel that. That's core to our ethos. So when we're in training, we don't just sit through it and then get done and move on to the next. We stop, and sometimes the questions we ask are because we know they're going to teach this again to the next crew. We are thinking.
It's cool getting just a peek into their training, how they have it. I wonder how they do it. I wonder if it's that outside of the craft they're training in, there's a big video monitor with like the Earth or whatever, you know, they would be looking at in space, or if each individual window has its own LED monitor that's displaying stuff on it. I wonder how they do that. But it's cool to see that they like train in space in, you know, like it makes sense, but it's just cool to see they do it versus just sitting in a warehouse and you have to pretend you're in space, you know.
Thinking about the long trajectory, the long arc of this program. And so how does it impacts everything we do. When we're in testing, we're not just asking, is this good enough for Artemis 2? Our mission is going to be about 10 days. These missions can become 30 to 45 day missions when you add, and a week of that at the dark south pole of the moon, of our moon. You're going to live in darkness like twilight for a week. Have you thought about that? That's a tough emotional thing that we're going to put a crew into. So we want to make sure we know everything we can about this vehicle and this configuration so that we can hand off the best set of capabilities and hardware and software to that next crew.
That's such a great point, because in me living on Earth during the Artemis 2, being in space right now, there's a lot of like mixed sentiments from a lot of different angles, you know. And one thing I've heard over and over again is, why are we testing a system that they perfected in the 60s? Like, why do we have to retest all these things that we already did in the 60s? Why can't they just use all that information? And why couldn't these guys have just gone to the moon this time? And I mean, like, for one thing, sorry, I'm just trying to formulate my thoughts on this. For one thing, technology has shifted so dramatically since the 60s. That would be saying, like, a manufacturer made a car in the 60s, why can't they just take that same blueprint and make a new car now? Like, they can't. Like, so much has changed in materials and in safety and in regulations and in just how vehicles function and how they work. They're not the same as they used to be. You know, you can't just take a blueprint from a 1960s jalopy and apply it to a 2026 sports car. It's not going to work. So it's like, there's that conversion. But then, like he's saying, they're not just going to the moon, and that's like not their end goal. They're testing this whole range of materials and systems and processes for a whole new era of spaceflight. And spaceflight in the 60s versus spaceflight now are two vastly different things, because the goal is different. The goal then was just to get to the moon and get back. And they did that several times. They did that successfully. The moon missions now are not about getting to the moon. They're about building on the moon. It's a completely different skill set. It's a completely different thing. You need to plan for it differently. You're not going there to discover the moon necessarily. You're going there to build on the moon so that you can launch yourself into deep space from the moon. And that is such a vastly different goal than the 60s goal was. So I'm really glad he hit on that point. I think that's very important that a lot of people are missing currently.
As the first crew who will fly on board an Orion spacecraft, Glover had a hand in naming this vehicle, as he did with naming the Crew Dragon he flew on the Crew 1 mission.
Okay.
He pulled from his naval experience when he and the rest of the crew named their Orion spacecraft Integrity.
We had a lot of talk about the heat shield. And so in the Navy, I'm a naval officer. And when you say hull integrity, you're talking about, hey, this ship is watertight. It's going to keep you safe. And that spaceship has to be watertight. It has to be airtight. And I just think it means a lot. It means we have trust in that system and all of the teams that have put it together. And we have trust in each other to fly it. And we have trust in our agency to make sure that, like Ahmed said, we go, but we get home safe.
Glover's.
So the Integrity name, I literally, I was trying to cram for Artemis in the weeks leading up to Artemis 2 launch because I knew I'd be there. I knew I would see it in person. And thank God I did. It was such an awesome experience. I'll be making a video about that if it's not already up on my channel by the time you watch this. But I've been cramming all this information in to try to learn what I was seeing launch, to try to have some more context to it. And I never heard Integrity mentioned at all the way up until the launch. And even after the launch, it was a couple days until I heard something somewhere that was like, yeah, the crew has decided to call the Orion space capsule Integrity. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. They named it while they were in space. It's only literally right now in this video that I'm realizing they didn't name it in space. They named it, I don't know, years ago, maybe. I don't know when this video came out, maybe a couple of years ago, year and a half ago, maybe. So I'm like, it's really cool to be gaining this information and context. I didn't realize they had named it before, but that makes sense. Now I understand why they named it Integrity, Whole Integrity. That makes sense.
His mentality throughout his career is to be a lifelong student. Nowhere is that more evident than
That's
in his
cool.
journey of preparation
I'm going to be watching a video on this tank, this water tank thing they train in, because I think it's really neat.
for the Artemis 2 mission.
Reed and I were in the sim just doing some sandboxing, like looking at failure modes. And like nobody made us do this. We asked to get the sim and the operators and then a few specialists, and we said, hey, there's this area that we just need to try stuff out. And they learned stuff and we learned stuff.
That's
and
really
that
cool.
was a high point. That is one of the coolest moments we've had in this journey, in my opinion.
But amid the highs and lows of training for this adventure, Glover told us that one of his biggest goals is to maintain a sense of focus on the work that lies ahead.
Excitement, for example, is something I get asked about a lot, and I don't let that out often. I think it can become a distraction, or it's a long story. I won't share it with you now, but I can tell you this. Having walked out to 39A and saw a Falcon with a Dragon sitting on top of it, there was I'd say 300 milliseconds where I thought, I'd just be embarrassed if I walked out of this and said, I'm not doing this. That's crazy. But then I stood there in awe that, wow, we're actually about to go fly that thing. And then when they got to 10, 9, it was like, oh no, we're going to fly it now. And so I actually...
That's got to be such a weird mental thing, right? Like, I get you, it's one of those things you just can't prepare for. Like, you can prepare, you can do everything you want to do to try to prepare. But until you're in that countdown, it might not click in your brain that this is happening right now. And in 9 seconds, I'm going to be, on my way to outer space. In 3 minutes, I'm going to be in orbit. It's got to be, I've never gone to space, obviously, but I've done big deal things. And it's always like that. It's always like, the day of, you're like, okay, but then you get into it and you're like, all right, now I'm here. Now I'm doing this. Now this is going to happen. And that's such a cool feeling. It's got to be for space. It's got to be the same sort of thing.
Actually look forward to that, even though I am focused. I'm glad you started with that. I am focused. I'm not excited. I'm focused, but I look forward to a moment like that with that beast.
Reporting for Spaceflight Now, I'm Will Robinson Smith.
Cool. Well, I thank Spaceflight Now for putting up the video. And again, this is linked down in the description below. If you want to watch it without any of my commentary or pausing or anything, you can go do that. Thank you for watching my video, though. If you have any suggestions of new content you would like to see, old content you would like to see, anything space-related you would like to see, including sci-fi, I am open to doing sci-fi. Drop a comment. Let me know. I go through and I read all the comments, and I try to interact with y'all as much as I'm able. So far, I haven't hit a comment that I haven't been able to react with or to interact with. And thanks for watching my video, and have a great day on Earth. Unless you're in space, have a great day in space.